welcome to the Get Clear Show. I'm Laura Wing, I'm your host. And again, we have another fascinating and exciting episode for you. Today, I have the honor and the privilege of being with Mr. CJ Wiley, and CJ is going to talk to us today a little about himself. He's also going to tell us a little about a sport that maybe has had a bad reputation in some people's eyes through the years. And then he's going to tell us a little bit about a documentary that he just got done putting together. So welcome to the show, CJ.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm so glad to have you.
Hey, I appreciate you inviting me.
So tell us a little about yourself, your background, particularly with billiards.
Well, it's a long story. I'll try to keep it short. I was raised in a small town of 629 people in northern Missouri, and one of the few things to do for entertainment was to go to the local pool room. And I went there when I was 7 years old with another kid from school that talked to me about this game called pool. And we went there, and it was like a smoky, dingy type pool room with 3 tables, and we had to use a Pepsi crate to stand on to be able to reach the table. And I had a knack for it. You know, I was like a child prodigy type situation where I just, became part of that game. And I think from the first moment I knew that it would be a big part of my life, and it certainly did. And from there I ended up having a table at my house, but just a little like toy table, and
A little one.
I had my little friend, my imaginary friends I would play with. And it's funny because one of them was from Texas, which I ended up moving to Texas, which I always thought was kind of interesting. But I became the best player in my area when I was 11 and won my first regional tournament when I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
At such a young age.
Yeah, and just had a knack for it. Had a knack for other sports too. Played baseball and basketball, but pool, pocket billiards was my main thing. And so I started branching out and going to other cities when I was 15. I would borrow a friend's car and drive before I had a driver's license. And that's kind of funny because we're still best friends, but he would always tell me, "You wreck, you pay." And that was the only agreement, yeah. So I worked my way into becoming one of the best players in the country at a relatively young age. They had a national high school championship where they had the state championships in Kansas City, and I was about 120 miles east of Kansas City in northern Missouri. And I called them up and asked them about coming to this tournament, how many players there'd be, and just some details. And they found out who I was and said, we really don't need you to come because we have 2 spots, and some of the other kids might not play in the tournament if you play. So we'll just give you a spot, and we'll play for the other one, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then the second one was in Rockford, Illinois, and it was like 5-hour drive from Green City, Missouri.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
So I called them and asked them details about it, and they said, "We know about you. We've heard your reputation. We're just going to send you to nationals. You don't have to come." So I went to nationals, and make a long story short, I played really well there and won the national high school championships, and actually played in a mini tournament with the pros. And the guy that beat me in that tournament was a guy named professional player named Earl Strickland, who was the best player in the world at the time.
Yeah.
And he is the one that many years later I made this documentary about. And Earl and I have had a lot of big matches through the years, and I've got a long background on gambling and playing in pro tournaments, but that's really how I got started into the game.
So pool has been your life, really.
Yes. When I started going on the road gambling, back then there was a lot of, they called us pool hustlers. And
Pool hustlers, yeah.
And the movie The Color of Money had just come out, and I was one of those real life players like Tom Cruise portrayed in the movie. And we went town to town, state to state, and played for a lot of money and won a lot of money. It was an adventure.
Well, CJ, you and I have a lot in common because I too, my father always owned pool halls, and I was raised with it. Of course, I didn't go on to be good at it in any sense of the word like you are, but I remember going and And I was always intrigued by the sport itself. The problem, I think, is that a lot of people don't recognize it as a sport. When we think of sports, we think of things like football, baseball, basketball, but there's been this image attached to billiards, to the sport of pool, that has, in my opinion anyway, been somewhat negative. We think of dingy bars
Right.
and smoke-filled rooms and things like the hustler and maybe ripping people off and conning
Hmm.
people and scamming people. But there's another side to that that is very legitimate, and it is very, what's the word that I would be looking for? It's very professional. Very
Hmm.
professional and very clean. And so I know that you have always wanted to promote that side of it, that you want to keep the sport clean, that you want to talk about the techniques and things like that. And you've done that. You have a wonderful website out there where you sell videos and you show people techniques on the sport, and you've done just so many amazing things with the sport and for the sport, that maybe you could talk a little bit about the sport itself and how people really do bring talent to the table, literally to the
Yeah.
table when they participate in this.
Yeah, sometimes, the world just identifies or labels something a certain way, and it's really hard to get out of that. And pocket billiards is one of those, games or sports that kind of fell prey to that because of movies like The Hustler and The Color of Money. It was kind of a double-edged sword there because those movies were very popular, and Paul Newman won an Academy Award for The Color of Money, and Tom Cruise was in it, who was very popular. But
Right.
the game was about gambling and hustling, and Paul Newman owned a bar and was in the liquor business, and there was a lot of that because, quite frankly, people find that interesting, and
Yeah, they do.
and pool is interesting, and the mystique of it with the road stories and the hustling and the adventures is something that people are really attracted to. It's not something people want to do themselves, but it's like they want to live vicariously through those adventures. And I'm asked all the time about stories. People want to hear those kind of stories. And quite honestly, that world doesn't exist anymore because of the internet and camera phones and stuff like that. You can't be a pool hustler anymore. So it's really not it's not even apparent. If you're around a pool room, you'll never see a pool hustler these days like they were back in my day.
So really now it really truly is about talent and technique, about learning how to, like anything else, some people are great artists and they
Yeah.
can draw, or maybe they're musically inclined and they can write music. Well, I've watched some of your videos, and what I think is, when I look through these and you demonstrate some of these techniques, is that it really is about learning an art. It's an art form.
Right. That is really how I classify it, Laura. They ask me, do you consider it a game or a sport? And I tell people I truly consider it an art form. It's a way of self-expression. It's like being an artist or a musician. I've written a lot of articles, and I have a blog at my website that describes, becoming the ball and becoming, kind of like a Zen-like state of becoming what you're doing and using the game as a way to express to the outside what's going on the inside, because that's the only way an artist can do that, either through painting, drawing, sculptures, or music, which I'm also musically inclined, so I have a perspective of that too.
So tell us a little bit, CJ, about some of the videos that you've produced, that you have out there, and how I was really interested when I was looking at one of your videos here. I think this was banking secrets, and you
Uh,
were talking about different banking techniques, and I learned some things just through
yeah.
watching this myself. So talk about that. What is it that you teach people, and what's in these videos? What can they learn from this?
Well, I did my first three videos after I won the World Championships in '97. I won them in '96, but I made the videos in '97. I did a three-part video series called Ultimate Pool Secrets, and it was all overall the fundamentals, and it got into, pretty advanced stuff like the aiming systems, and really, though, it focused on more beginner, intermediate, and just a little bit into the advanced. When I came back into the game this time, I really had people wanting me to do advanced stuff. And the thing about banking in pool is it's basically creating angles. And if you think about it, the game of pocket billiards is all creating angles, whether
All
you're
that
making
angle.
the
So does
shot.
somebody have to be a mathematician to understand this sport?
No, but it's part of the expression. You know, whether we're a mathematician or not, we're dealing with angles all the time. I mean, just getting up and down out of this chair or driving is creating angles. So our minds always conform to creating angles, and we're not even aware of it. So no, you don't have to be a mathematician, but when it's broken down and put in simple terms, I think it's easier to understand. And the terms that I use are more about creating angles rather than to hit one ball into another ball to go into a pocket. I talk about relatively relating these two round objects basically to create an angle. So the whole thing molds into your mind where it's like there's a one piece you know, chunk of information rather than these three various pieces where you got a shot speed, an angle you're creating, and where you got to hit the cue ball. Those in most teachings are three separate things, and I combine them as one.
And put them all together.
Yeah.
So that you really do become one with the ball. Is that it?
Yeah, because
One with
that's
it?
what I do. People wanted me to put and teach how a real professional champion level player looks at the game and experiences the game, and that's how I do it. I can't play the level that I play if I break these things into pieces and try to hit one ball into another. It's just too complicated. It's really simplicity that makes you more of an expert than anything.
Let's talk for just a minute, if we can kind of digress a little, about some of your professional experiences that you've had and some of your professional successes with this sport. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little about that? I know you've won many tournaments and some awards and things like that, and maybe you can share that with people.
Well, I've been blessed. I won the world or the National High School Championships is what I brought up before, but after that I won the World Series of Tavern Pool, which was in Las Vegas at the age of 21. After I won that, there wasn't much money involved, so I went back to my gambling and playing high dollar matches, and I won a lot and got a lot more seasoning. And when I was about 26 or 27, 1992, basically, I came on the pro tour in Toronto and beat Efren Reyes, Jimmy Rempe, Earl Strickland, Mike LeBron, and the best player at the time from Canada in my first professional tournament. So I really, hit the tour running. And but then I knew that I was missing something, and I worked with a gentleman there to improve some of my fundamentals so that my game was more
So even
stable.
though you won, you still knew you were missing something. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, I think what I'm hearing in that kind of a statement is you can always improve and you can always do better.
Yeah, it's a process. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And I have to keep that in mind because there's really no maintenance when it comes to professional sports. And you'll see that with, I've got a
Do you
relationship
still practice?
with-
Do you still practice?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I have to practice specific things and really work on my weaknesses more than my strengths will take care of themselves. It's the weaknesses that I really need to keep, focused on.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
You've done a lot. You've done a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
And most recently, you just put together this documentary. Tell us about the documentary. I think we have a copy of it here
Well,
for people to take a look at.
yeah,
And they can find this on your website, and we'll put that information up at the end of this program. But talk about the documentary.
Yeah, it's a story of, in 1996, a group of us started a new tour, a new professional tour called the PCA, the Professional Cue Sports Association. And we had a kind of a carrot, if you will, of $1 million if somebody could run 10 racks or more in a row. And
Wow.
nobody had ever done that beforehand. And we got that.
What does that mean,
insured.
run 10 racks? What
Well,
does that mean?
consecutively to break and run out playing 9-ball, all 9 balls, or if you make it on the break, you win. Or
In
a
other words, your
combination.
opponent doesn't even get a shot?
Doesn't get a shot for 10 games in a row. And that's, it had not been done before
Wow.
and has not been done since. But the first day of the first tournament, Earl Strickland ran 11 racks in a row.
Whew.
And
Wow.
won the $1 million challenge, and it caught us off guard. And the whole documentary is about forming the tour and creating this great opportunity, and then Earl doing it, but doing it just a little bit too soon. and it caused some controversy with the insurance company. It made us file a lawsuit, and it took 2.5 years to actually get the money. And by that time, the tour had suffered greatly because we didn't get the momentum that we
And
thought
that's
we
all
would.
in this story. I mean,
Yeah, it's
an
a
unfolding
detailed
story,
Yeah,
right?
it's an hour and 7 minutes of that part, and then about 30 minutes of extras with different interviews and different other video clips that pertain to the same thing. But it's a very in-depth accounting with interviews with myself. We had a 2-hour interview with Earl that we condensed down, and Max Eberly, Jay Helfert, who was the tournament director at the time, and it's a pretty interesting account of this historic event because it hadn't been done before and it hasn't been done since, and that's without the $1 million aspect. That even made it more serious, you know. So.
Wow. Well, it's a fascinating story. And I know that plenty of people out there watching this would love to get their hands on that story, on that documentary, and take a look at it. Where can they go to get a copy of that? I know you just finished this, like within the last week. Am I right?
Yeah, we just we shipped them out starting right after Christmas, and now it's New Year's Eve, and we're at on the website we're caught up, but we're ready to introduce that to anybody that would like to read more about it. So.
Yeah, so they're going fast, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So tell me, where can we go? The website again.
The actual website is CJWiley.com.
Okay, CJWiley.com, and when they get on there, they can see this and they can order it.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And will this be released anywhere else besides the website?
We'll probably have it on pay-per-view on the website, and then we'll start wholesaling it at some point, but that'll probably be another month.
Be a little while. And of course, they can also get some of the training videos that you have out and some of the other things that you have on there. But this documentary, like you said, it's historical. I mean, this is an event that happened in somewhat recent history, at least in our time, right?
Right.
And it is fascinating to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people. You also belong to some associations and networks of people that are really into this sport. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, the professional tour right now is kind of in limbo, but what we are working on now is to start another tour that would be completely televised, where all the events would be televised. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to use a sports station, but we're open to, we're just really in the investigation process now, but I think we have a really good product. We have a unique way of producing pocket billiards that hasn't been done in the past, where we can really capture the kind of the dare and the challenge aspect of it, to where one player puts another one in a situation where they either have to shoot or they can give the shot back, and then that player has to perform or he's going to lose the game, and it builds up a lot of pressure, and that's just like
that's like a game show, I see game shows out there where
and other sports too. It's kind of like, how do you create the fourth down and 1 yard with 37 seconds left on the clock? I mean, how do you capture that in pool? And I think we figured that out.
Figured out a way to bring some true excitement.
We're anxious to do it. I've done several televised programs in the past, and that's really my passion, is to get it back in the public eye.
Put it back in the limelight where it belongs.
Yeah.
With a better reputation than maybe they did with the Color of Money.
That's naturally happened because the hustling is just not in. It's just not part of it anymore. It just doesn't
exist anymore.
Not really, no. And we also are looking towards maybe an older age demographic that can't really play the tennis or the basketball or the football anymore. Still want some physical exercise and mental stimulation, and pool is the perfect sport for the 45 to 50 and up crowd. I mean, it's not just a young person's game anymore.
Yeah. So. Well, CJ, it's been wonderful having you here, and I'm excited to get to finish watching the documentary and to see some more of your videos. I really am, and I really do appreciate you being here. So once again, if you want to check out these videos and you want to learn more about CJ, and you just want to learn more about pocket billiards and the sport itself and how to play, maybe you're wanting to be a better player yourself, then I would suggest you get on the website. And again, that's www.cjwiley.com, and you can see that posted right here underneath this video. And we look forward to you watching some more of our Get Clear episodes. So, CJ, thank you so much for
All right,
being
Laura.
with us
Hey,
today.
I appreciate it. It's my pleasure.
It's been
Thanks.
great.
Yeah.
You've been watching the Get Clear show, and we've had CJ Wiley on today. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.